What's going on, Jets fans? It's your boy DT back with a quick waiver claim update. Some of the waiver claims have already started trickling in. The New York Jets look to have claimed 3 new players off of other teams' cut lists. We will go through them in order with a few tweets giving us some notes about each person. The first one is Cam Jones, the linebacker from Indiana, and Will Parkinson at WillPaw11 on Twitter tweets, Jets claimed Cam Jones, linebacker from the Chiefs. Jones appeared in all 17 games the last 2 years for the Chiefs and had 32 tackles and 1 quarterback hit. His best work is in the run game as a linebacker and on special teams, had a 91.2 PFF special teams grade as a core teamer for KC, still just 25 years old, could mean a cut of Zaire Barnes, who likely made the team due to Weston being hurt. So my initial thoughts was Cam Jones, yeah, it's definitely somebody who's going to give you more special teams upside than defensive upside, right? And they kept 5 linebackers to begin with. Will obviously says Zaire Barnes. I would say maybe Marcelino McCreary-Ball, right? Because I feel like he gives you the most special teams upside. So if you're swapping a special teams linebacker for a new special teams linebacker, maybe it's McCreary-Ball instead. But I did like what I saw on film, at least from a special teams perspective in the preseason this year. He didn't have a ton of great defensive reps in the preseason. Again, I'm not going to put too much stock in August football games, but Cam Jones is definitely somebody who's going to give you upside on special teams and could potentially be a rotational linebacker on defense. The second one is offensive tackle Essa Pole, another one who was claimed from the Kansas City Chiefs. The Jets had a 30 visit with Pole during the pre-draft process. Will also puts out that Connor Rogers had a 7th round grade on him pre-draft. During the preseason this year, he had a 70.1 PFF grade with an 84.1 pass blocking grade, which is his strong suit in college. Will goes on to note that this could be a 1-for-1 swap with Marquise Hayes, who stayed on as the 10th offensive lineman for the Jets. He also called it an interesting claim. I think it's always good to have offensive linemen in the pipeline, right? Whether he's going to replace Marquise Hayes or if he's going to replace Max Mitchell, right? Essa Pole is somebody who is a Dom C stamp of approval type of player. Dom C was a huge Essa Pole guy in the pre-draft process. He's very ecstatic to have him on the Jets roster right now. And he says that he's a very good left tackle, a true left tackle, right? With 34-inch arms. He has the size, the length to play tackle. And Dom called him a left tackle. So maybe that does bring in Max Mitchell, right, as a potential swap of Pole for Mitchell. But I do think Will is probably more accurate with the Marquise Hayes swap because it seemed like he was the surprise 10th offensive lineman. So Essa Pole enters the fold. And the third and final waiver claim so far of the Jets is probably my preferred favorite, a guy that I was definitely keeping an eye on, and that is tight end Jelani Woods, who was claimed from the Indianapolis Colts. Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic, he says Jelani Woods was one of the most intriguing players on the wire, especially for a Jets team that needed talent at tight end. Rosenblatt says he was a 3rd-round pick of the Colts in 2022, and as a rookie, he had 25 catches, 312 yards, and 3 touchdowns. However, he has not played in a game since. So you're talking about 2 full seasons removed from playing football due to injuries. He does not note any of the specific injuries. I will do more research about Jelani Woods' injury history for tonight's stream. You can catch here at about 7 or 7:30 p.m. tonight. So Jelani Woods hasn't played in almost 2 seasons, but he was an impressive athlete, and he was considered a decent blocker coming out of college. And when asked at the podium, AG gave very basic, descriptors. And Jelani Woods, he just said he will help as a blocker and a receiver. So on the surface, that sounds all well and good. He's probably a versatile guy who can give you a little bit of both. Does that push Jeremy Ruckert off the roster? We're not sure yet. Do they try to do the roster gymnastics and maybe cut a guy at a different position and hold 4 tight ends and Andrew Beck also as that hybrid tight end / fullback combination? So definitely a little bit of gymnastics to do here. But on the surface, all of these guys are of positions of need, I felt, right? Offensive tackle, I definitely want more depth there. Tight end, I've been clamoring to, swap Ruckert for a cut down tight end, and this is the potential opportunity to do it. And then Cam Jones, yes, I was a little bit surprised that they cut Jamin Davis, a former first-round pick who was claimed in January during the Phil Savage interim era. So I'm not terribly, impressed by Cam Jones, but if he's going to give you special teams upside, I'm very impressed with that part of it specifically. I think they already know who their starting linebackers are on defense. It's going to be Quincy and Sherwood. And then that third linebacker in the mix, right? Is it going to be Barnes? Is it going to be McCreary Ball? Could it be Kiko Malinoa, the rookie from Miami, who really didn't show too much, but does have a different skill set than Sherwood and Williams? So Cam Jones does have a path to make it. It does get a little bit more murky when Jamarcus Weston, one of their standouts in the preseason, both on defense and special teams, comes back into the fold after his 4-game IR stint. So it'll be interesting to see the gymnastics they do at linebacker in a couple weeks from now. But on the surface, we got 3 pretty good upgrades or potential upgrades at positions that we needed depth at. These guys aren't coming in to be starters, correct? They're just coming in as depth guys to hopefully push the backups and get up the depth chart slowly rather than just thrust right into a starting role. Jelani Woods isn't tight end 1. It's still Mason Taylor. And then it's probably Andrew Beck, in my opinion. And then you talk about Jelani Woods versus Stone Smart as tight end 3. That's where I would fit him in. So 3 solid claims so far for the Jets. 2 players currently have been claimed that the Jets cut. Jarek Bernard-Converse, the cornerback, that's not a surprise. I thought he was going to get claimed regardless. He goes to the Cleveland Browns. And then offensive tackle Carter Warren ends up in Atlanta with the Falcons. And they just suffered an injury with Caleb McGarry. So they had an opening at their offensive line spot. They're just bringing in Carter Warren, most likely for depth. I don't think Carter Warren will start for Atlanta. But Jarek Bernard-Converse, depending on how that room shakes out in Cleveland, could have a very sizable role on that defense. I'm not too familiar with their depth outside of like Denzel Ward. I believe they still have Martin Emerson Jr. So they probably have a spot for JBC to at least come in and compete for a starting role. So only 2 guys that the Jets have cut so far have been claimed. And then we have a 6 or 7-man practice squad. This is a tweet from Connor Long, so shout out Connor. He says, source, I am told the New York Jets practice squad signings so far include Dean Clark, Jordan Clark, so both the Clarks make it back. Brady Cook, so they prefer him over Adrian Martinez most likely. Offensive lineman Cole Laval and Leander Vegan. Laval I had on my 53 over Marquise Hayes, so I'm not surprised there. And Leander Vegan is your International Pathway Program player to give you that exemption on the practice squad to get to 17. And then the last one is kicker Harrison Mevis. So he goes unclaimed, and he makes it back to the practice squad as the essential backup to Nick Folk, or the insurance policy if something were to happen to old man Nick Folk at the kicker spot. So just some quick news. Wanted to come in and do a quick update about the roster and how it stands currently. Still a lot more work to be done. Again, it was just the initial 53, still very fluid, as Coach Aaron Glenn spoke about it today. I will be back with Jake in a couple hours at 4:30 Eastern time, and then I will be going live myself to break down the entire 53-man roster and whatever we have of the practice squad at that time. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you guys in a couple hours. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe if you're new. We're less than 175 subscribers away from 1,000, and I'm really making that push right as we get to the beginning of the regular season. So hopefully we can get to 1,000 before we face off against Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So like button, subscribe button. I appreciate it all. You guys are awesome. And I will catch you guys in a couple hours. Let's go Jets.